Alright, just came back from another ride, my third ride. So now I'm a little bit over 100 miles, I think like just over 105 miles, I think. So a little bit over 105 miles. Last video I showed I changed the oil. So I changed the oil around 71, 72 miles for this new oil now, or well, I guess it has about 30 something miles now. But anyways, after I changed the oil, it ran a lot smoother, and I had mentioned in the oil change video and also in the initial break-in ride video that the clutch, as I ease off the clutch, as the clutch starts to grab, it does that shaking sort of thing, that that roughness, as if the engine was going to stall. And it didn't matter if I just let off the clutch by itself, or if I was to give it gas while I was letting off the clutch, and it could be light gas or higher rev. Didn't matter, low rev or high rev. It still had that shakiness, like as if it was wanting to stall, or as if it was geared too tall. It's kind of like in the car, when instead of you starting in first gear, it's like you starting in second gear, and it's kind of like shaky like that. It's kind of like, feels kind of like the engine slugging and such. So after I changed the oil, it still did that for like the first couple miles, but as I rode it, on that 30-mile ride, by the end, that basically pretty much went away. So I think it was basically because it was all that oil was that original oil was all dirty from the break-in process. And I think I also showed when I showed the oil before I changed the oil, I showed how dirty the oil was, and now even after 30 miles, it's still very clear. You can see the backing plate behind the oil. The previous video I showed during the oil change, that had 70 something miles on it, but it had all that break-in. It had all that break-in stuff. So that oil was just it was all cloudy. It was dirty basically. And when I was draining out the oil, I didn't see that much. When I was draining out the oil, I didn't see that much. But I was pouring that oil in that container, that catch container, and I was pouring it into my jug, my recycling jug. What I saw was at the bottom of that container, I saw all the specks of metal, and bigger chunks of metal too. I actually saw like little specks of aluminum and such. I also saw some gasket material, gray gasket material. And I saw some like some black fiber. I'm not sure if that was clutch material or what. But anyways, there was like a bunch of gunk at the bottom of the pan that was used to the drain pan to catch the old oil. So there was a bunch of crap in there. So I think that contributed to the shakiness as the clutch was being engaged. So now it's definitely smoother now. So it's much better now, much better than before. And I mean, it can also be because it's it has over 100 miles now. But I think after that oil change, I definitely felt the difference. So let's look at this thing after 100 miles. It still feels like the gears are tall, but I think it's not necessarily that the gears are tall. I think it's more has to do with the gears being a wide ratio instead of a close ratio. Because almost all the bikes that I've had in the past, all had close ratio bikes. I only had I think I only had 2 bikes that had wide ratio bikes, and that was my Triumph Street Twin 900. I sold that I think last year or a year or so ago, and over a year I think. And the other bike I had that was a wide ratio was a Kawasaki W650. That one was also wide ratio as well. But those are both big bikes with plenty of torque. So it's not so the wide ratio didn't really bother it. This one, being a 125, not much torque at all. Wide ratio, you definitely notice it, and it makes the gears feel kind of tall. I still think it is kind of tall, but it's okay. It works for me. the tires on here are very since they're kind of a dual sportish tires, they're like a 80-20, 80 street, 20 dirt type tire. They they have a pretty, they're pretty the profile, the height here is pretty tall, so it's not necessarily very sporty feeling. It's kind of a vague feel, kind of a loose feel to it. It's just like if you were to ride a dual sport, on a dual sport on the street. If it has a certain looseness to it, because that's just the nature of the tires. So I think these tires does that too. So the bike itself has this looseness to it as you're cornering the bike, especially from a transition. When like a left and also on the right, or a right and also on the left. When you do that quick transition, you feel that looseness, and I think that's the tires. So once I get rid of these tires and put on my my KD1s, it'll be completely different. The suspension still feels soft, soft to me. I think this bike, the weight capacity on this bike is pretty high. It's let's see, maximum weight capacity right here is 229. Oh, actually that's pretty low. That's not that high. 229. Well, it is a single rider bike, but 229 is not that big. A lot of big Americans are heavier than that. That's 229 is about 100 pounds more, a little bit less than 100 pounds more than I weigh. So, well, actually with all my gear I weigh about 160 pounds, so that's 60 pounds more than I weigh approximately. So, but it's still, the suspension still feels a little bit on the soft side, and I think that has to do more with the dampening than anything. I think it's the dampening that actually makes it feel soft. I don't think there's much dampening. There's not much dampening to this, so it just kind of compresses real fast. When it is compressing, it compresses real fast. It doesn't rebound too quickly, but the rebound still doesn't feel controlled, very well controlled. So anyways, the dampening is not the greatest, so it makes the bike feel, or the suspension, it makes the suspension feels kind of soft. But I don't think it is for my weight. I don't think the spring rate is soft for my weight. I think it's fine for my weight. It's just the dampening is it's not very good. Let's see what else about this thing. The riding position is very upright. I sit on this thing. Whoa, shit! Whew, almost dropped the bike there. Almost dropped the bike. that would be the first time I drop a little mini bike. So anyways, as I sit on this thing, my legs, my knees basically never touch the tank because it's so narrow, and where my foot is, it never touches the tank. Even when I'm like tucking my even when I'm kind of tucking my feet in, or my knees in, it still doesn't really touch the tank. So that's a good thing, because because this tank is so low, and when your legs touch the tank, it scratches the paint. So I don't want to scratch my paint job. This is a nice paint job. Where the handlebars is, and where your knees is for my leg length, anyways, I got plenty of knee clearance. I have no problems with knee clearance at all whatsoever. So I'm good there. The seat still feels a little bit wide for my butt. Again, that has to do with me being a small guy. When I sit on this thing, and I look down at the seat, my crotch is basically right about right here somewhere, so I can see this section of the seat. And when I feel the back of my butt, I can feel more than this first line. I can feel like somewhere my butt, ends here, and then I got my hands like, I can feel somewhere on past this first line. So oh, excuse me. So at least on the seat, I'm a little bit more forward than I am back. Looking at this, how it curves and where it is, and that's about right, because it bottoms out on this third. This third one is probably where the low point is. Well, actually these two are the low points, but the third pad is the lowest point, because this one here is kind of a slope, and this one's leveled, and this is slowly slope up. So that's why I think that's why I'm a little bit more forward. But I think that's also a case of the handlebar position too. So the original, when I got it from the dealer anyways, the handlebar was rotated more towards, basically, it was basically more like this. It was, angled more like this. So I rotated it forward more. I think I rotated forward a little bit too much. It's pretty close to the stock rotation, I think. When you look at the stock handlebars, like all the controls and stuff, you see like, let me see right in here, you see that the little indentation right there. So those indentation are little marks for basically for at the factory when they're assembling the parts, the controls and stuff. It's there so that way the person on the assembly line, they can put everything on together real fast without having to, is this in the right spot? So these are alignment points to tell you, okay, where the thing is, so that way everything is uniform. So the handlebar right here has it too. So this little dot right there, and I actually rotated it up a little bit, basically where the split is right here between the clamp. My dot is actually on the closer to the top clamp, basically at the top clamp instead of in the middle or at the bottom clamp. So I think I'm gonna rotate it to the middle, to where the split is. I think before when I got it from the dealership, that dot was actually towards the bottom clamp. So I'm gonna rotate it slightly back a little bit. And the reason for that is if you look at my handlebars, it's kind of hard to see, but anyways, when I was riding it, as I rotated forward, it felt like the handlebar was when I put my hand here, it felt like the end here was higher than this end, and basically it's kind of like this. When your hand is like that, it's not ergonomical. It's more ergonomical for the handlebar where your hand is to point down slightly, and if you're like in the tuck, you're using a lower clamp, like a drag bars or whatever, it's like really pointing down. But something that's higher than this, it's neither leveled or just a slight down, just barely down. So I think when I change this rotation, it will go back to neither being level or just slightly down, because right now it's actually slightly up. I can feel it slightly up, and it's kind of awkward on my wrist. The ergonomics not really, it's a little bit odd on my wrist. Allergies. Let's see what else about this bike. And it still feels, it's definitely faster, at least on the speedometer, indicated speed anyways. It's faster than my scooter, but it doesn't feel faster than my scooter. My scooter feels faster than this. The acceleration for sure on my scooter is faster than this, especially from 0 to 30. For sure, my scooter is faster than this bike is. My Elite, my Honda Elite, the Honda NHX 110. So that's a 110 cc bike, and it feels faster from 0 to 30 for sure. Maybe even to 40, it might be faster as well. Maybe. But for sure, 0 to 30 is definitely faster. Climbing steep hills on this thing is about the same. It seems speed-wise, it seems to be about the same. I mean, if I'm climbing the steep hills on my scooter, that thing would drop down to like the really steep hills on my test track. That speed on that would drop down to as low as 25. This thing I could definitely go faster than that. If I'm in second gear. In second gear, I could get it up to like 30, maybe a little bit over 30, but that's ringing out second gear. Above 30 rings out second gear. You're higher on the higher end of the RPMs in second gear. But if I'm in third gear, I can't get above 30 in third gear, going that same hill. It'll drop me down to basically same speed as my scooter. So I definitely have to downshift with this thing. But just whatever reason it is, it doesn't feel fast on this bike. I think it's because it does have gears. You could upshift or downshift, and you could be higher on the RPM or lower on the RPM. Whereas on the scooter, it's just because of the CVT, it kind of leaves the RPM at neither its peak torque or peak horsepower mostly, or somewhere in that range. So on the scooter it's always like revving a lot higher. So I think that's one of the reasons why the scooter feels faster, but also feels stronger too, because you're somewhere near your peak torque or peak horsepower. Whereas this thing, you're revving each time you change the gear, because it's such a wide ratio gearbox. You're changing where the power band is quite a bit. So each time you upshift, you definitely drop out of the power band. Whereas on the scooter, you're always pretty much in the power band, more or less. So I think in that regards, the scooter feels faster because of that reason. This bike is only, I believe, 230 pounds. The bike itself is pretty light. It's 230 pounds, I think. Maybe 220 pounds. Let's see. So it doesn't say here. It just says rider weight. Where's the vehicle weight? Let's see. Is there a vehicle weight in here? No, that's emissions. That's noise emission. Noise emission. This one is tune-up info. So tune-up info sticker. That's noise emission sticker. Where's the rider weight info on here? There's usually a rider weight info somewhere. Maybe it's on the VIN sticker. Let me see. Let's see any other stickers on here. There's the VIN sticker up here. The VIN sticker up here. Oh, here it is. Gross rider weight is 4. Oops! Whoa! Shit! Whew, almost knocked the bike over. It wouldn't be the first time I've done that. So gross rider weight on here is 461 pounds. So 461, I believe. Gross GVWR. So that's gross vehicle weight. 461. Yeah, that's 4. So it's 461. 461 minus maximum rider weight. 461 minus 2. Let's say 460. 460 minus 230. So that basically means that's half. 460 versus 230. So that's half. So the bike itself weighs about 230 pounds. So 230 pounds. It's lighter than my scooter. My scooter weighs I think my scooter weighs about 250 pounds, or just barely over 250 pounds. So you're talking about 20 pounds lighter. But this bike feels lighter than my scooter. I think because of the sitting position. The seat height on this thing is lower. So when I'm sitting on here, I definitely feel like I'm lower where my head is. It's lower than sitting on the scooter. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that where the engine is, it's actually higher than the scooter. The engine height is actually lower than this. It's actually the scooter engine height is probably about, like, if I look at my engine height here, the center line of the engine here, it's about that high, right? The scooter, the center line is probably about right here, where the shifter is. Somewhere around right here, maybe slightly higher than that. So it's definitely the scooter engine is a little bit lower. But whatever reason, this bike actually feels lighter. I think mainly because of what the seat height is. The seat height on this is lower, because my head height is definitely lower. When I'm looking down the road, I definitely notice a difference in where my head height is. It's definitely lower on this than it is on the scooter. So it feels lighter. It doesn't just feel a little bit lighter. It feels like a lot lighter. It feels more than 20 pounds, basically. It feels more like, man, it feels like at least 50 pounds lighter, maybe even more than that. Let's see, what else about this bike? Not much more than I could say, I don't think. So far, I'm really liking it. It's a fun bike. One thing, and I think I mentioned this before, is this tail light. This tail light, for some reason, the US one has this goofy rectangular tail light, and I think it has to do with the surface area, because it has to be DOT compliant. So one of the things with DOT is that the tail light has to have a certain amount of surface area, just like the turn signal is supposed to be a certain amount. And I believe the DOT turn signal surface area is 2 square inches. And I don't know what the tail light is. Maybe whatever it is, I have no idea. But anyways, that's why the US one is bigger than Europe, bigger than Japan. Same thing with the tail light. So the Euro and Japanese tail light is the round one, and it's definitely smaller. I think it's only like this big, and this one is also smaller too. It's only it's a little bit smaller as well. So this thing doesn't quite match anything because it's it's rectangular, so it doesn't match with the rest of the bike. So the the original Japanese one, European one, definitely would be a lot better looking than this one is. So I think I'm gonna replace this thing with the. I need to find a place to buy the Japanese version. Basically, the non-American version. So I want to replace that, and I also want to replace these lights to have the turn signals a little bit smaller as well. Those will all be OEM Honda. Same with the front as well. The front big old things. So the other outside of America, the lights everything's a little bit smaller on the lights. So I'm gonna do that as well. Let's see what else about this bike so far. Yeah, so the riding on this thing, because of its wide ratio gearbox, the riding is it's a very relaxed riding. It doesn't feel like you're rushing, or it just feels like you're cruising. It doesn't feel like you're rushing. It doesn't necessarily feel really sporty either. It just kind of feels like you're just kind of going on a relaxing Sunday, Sunday afternoon ride or something like that. So that's definitely a difference in feel, definitely a change. Well, actually, looking at this angle here, you actually see my fork to handlebar angle. So you can see how the handlebar is kind of rotated forward a little bit, not in line with the fork. So I'm going to rotate it back slightly. It's going to go back a few degrees. Make it slightly more ergonomical for my wrist. Let's see. So I have when I got this home from the shop, well, actually the tank was full. So now with 106 miles, as I was coming home, it was only 1 bar. Right now it's showing 2, but I only had 1 bar. So I'm gonna fill the gas soon. So, and I want to see how much gas what my fuel mileage is. So I'm gonna do that probably soon. Or on the next ride, beginning of the next ride, I'll go to the gas station and see how much my fuel mileage is. At least initially, anyways. It'll get better as the engine breaks in. And definitely the engine is definitely breaking in. It's feeling better on this last ride than it did the first and second ride. This last ride is the third one. Let's see what else about this bike. So that's those are my thoughts on the Monkey so far after 100 miles and an oil change. So I'm glad I did the oil change. I should have done it sooner. I should have done it like after 20 miles, after the first ride. Should have changed it. So did the oil change. The oil still looks pretty clean, so I probably won't do the oil change again until probably around 500 or 600 miles, where officially Honda says to do the first oil change. So I do one then as well. It'll probably feel even better by then. So pretty soon I'm gonna put it on my Olins, because I already got the Olins. I haven't looked at the forks yet, but I think you'd need a tool to be able to open up the forks, be able to get the insides out, the internals out. I don't think you could get the internals from the top, but I'm not 100% sure though. As far as I saw in the instructions for this, anyways. At least on the Olins instructions. They say that you need to clamp this stanchion here, hold that, so that way, or hold this, and you need to unscrew it. So this is threaded onto this right here. So this tube here is threaded onto the lower section here. So you need to separate that part right here. You need to unthread this part. So I don't have a tool for that. So I need to get that tool. But I might just see if I could open and take the internals out just from the top, the top cap, and it's gonna be I think down in here there's gonna be like a bottom cap, or excuse me, a bottom screw down in here, down the bottom. That's usually the screw that's right past the axle hole here. If I could just unscrew that, and I could take everything out and rear the top, then I don't need to, you don't need to separate this. So I'm not sure why what's up with that. But then you don't know until you take it apart and try it, right? So gotta do that. But yeah, so for sure, I think I'm gonna put the rear suspension on first. Then I'll figure it out what I need up here to do that. As far as the rest of it, I think that's about it. Oh, one last thing I guess is the mirrors. The right mirror is actually pretty good. I can actually see behind me and to the side. The left mirror, on the other hand, I can see to the side, but I can't see behind me. If I adjust it to see behind me, basically my elbow's in the way. If I just see the side, out to the side, I can't really see behind me. So, or if I adjust it so that way that my elbow's not in the way, then it will see to the side, but I can't see behind me. So, and I find that to be kind of true with almost every single bike that I've ever had. The left and right mirror, for whatever reason, it's never quite balanced between the two. I'm not sure why that is. So yeah, I have no idea why that is. So that beats me. Yeah. That's about it. I don't think I have anything else to say. So next time I do another little review is maybe around 500 to 600 miles. I'll do another one, but that's it for now. Thanks for watching.